Smarter Markets is back at the FIA's Boca conference, and we're joined by Alun Green, Executive Vice President and Managing Director for Futures and Options at Trading Technologies.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be back.
Thanks for joining us, Alun. This is terrific. I'm just curious, since the last time we were able to talk, there's so much going on at the conference, prediction markets, tokenization. Last year was AI. What are you doing at Trading Technologies to keep up with all this?
So I think for us right now, prediction markets is, the thing of the moment. Being honestly, if you'd spoken to us a year ago, even 6 months ago, we'd have said it's not really an institutional thing. And we're very much an institutional player, rather than retail. But that's definitely changed. We had a little panel yesterday where a couple of people were coming up and speaking, and we are seeing now, Kalshi, I think, got a significant amount of institutional trading on the market. Rothera is coming up as being a new institutional only, prediction markets exchange. And of course, CME, has got their contracts out there. So that's something that we are, supporting. I would say at the moment, it's still early days. Nobody's completely sure how that's going to play out. But definitely that's been the big change, at least, market-driven change that we've seen over the last few months.
And of course, when people come to the conference, often it's the meetings around the meetings. Boca is known as a place to find out who you need to meet and what you need to know. And I was curious, what were you looking forward to this year? Who did you want to talk to in terms of types of industry participants? And what do you want to be talking about with them?
So, the first thing is, and I think I said this, last year, for me, it's a personal conference. So what I love about coming here is being able to come and reconnect with old friends and meet new friends. And that goes absolutely for the individuals, but also for the firms. So I get to come here and talk to a lot of our existing clients who've been loyal customers of Trading Technologies for 30 years in many cases. But we also get a chance to, talk to new participants in the ecosystem and, find out what's going on. So we very much cover a very broad range. I think 5 years ago, we were very focused on execution and trading tools. But now as we're expanding with our multi-asset X, strategy, we're going not only into other asset classes, but up and down the sort of the trade life cycle. So, honestly, we're happy to talk to obviously sell-side banks and brokers, but, global macros to different exchange venues. The wide variety of people who are here at Boca, are all people that we're very, very happy to meet with.
And as you said, there's a whole ecosystem here, and it takes a whole ecosystem to kind of really bring a lot of the innovation, whether it's prediction markets, tokenization, into the mainstream. Where are you seeing some of the biggest gaps or challenges for integrating a lot of this innovation into the existing markets?
So I think with the prediction markets, most of those markets have done a fairly good job of sort of trying to stay within, as best they can, what I'd call, standard futures contracts, models. So I think that side of it is, I won't say it's trivial, but it's, comparatively easy and doable. I think tokenization is interesting. The challenge there is there are so many, and I think a lot of people are absolutely looking at stablecoin and looking at collateral on blockchain and, being able to support all of those. The trick is it's hard to do 55 of them, and so I don't think it's necessarily a technical challenge per se. They're again pretty straightforward to integrate to. It's a question of who is going to win out and where do you really put the effort. So we're being a little bit wait and see, on the blockchain thing, but very, very actively talking to people and seeing where the market is going.
And as you talk to people and listen to the conference panels and have meetings, is there anything that's surprised you so far, or any conversations or way of thinking about these issues that have stuck with you?
Well, certainly I need to talk about those prediction markets again, because I was not expecting that to be such a topic of conversation. But I think, going beyond that, really, I think just the increased globalization and also hearing a lot of our customers go into a multi-asset world. I think this conference maybe 20 years ago was certainly a global conference. It's always been a global conference, but I think you would have had a lot of people who are only operating in their one region, whether that's the States or whether that's, Vietnam or wherever it may be. Now I think we're seeing that most players have got some kind of global strategy where they're sort of trying to look out into other countries. And again, not all, but most players are looking beyond just futures and options. Many people obviously have been in other asset classes for a long time, but those that haven't are sort of looking beyond and seeing how can they go into foreign exchange, fixed income, cash equities, equity option type of products. So I think that was happening a little bit more than I was expecting, across the range of people here.
Right. And I imagine that also changes what customers are asking you for at Trading Technologies.
It does, and what's really satisfying for us is that does fit in with our strategy. We, I think, expect the market to move away from a purely asset class driven approach of you trade futures here, you trade fixed income there. I think people are saying, look, I'm a rates trader. I want to have one screen. So I think that's something that we expect to happen. That's what we're building for. And yeah, we're beginning to see that demand coming through slowly, but we're beginning to see it.
Yes. And when you think ahead, getting ahead of ourselves to next year, what would you like to see the industry progress on over the next year to really help integrate a lot of this innovation and take us in a good direction?
So I think one thing, coming back to the prediction markets, if we can get to a model that allows margin, rather than fully funded. We bought just before Christmas a company called Open Gamma, and they are really focused on margin optimization for better use of capital, which really fits in with Trading Technologies because more available capital allows more trading. And I think that at the moment, one of the barriers to some of those event contracts is that fully funded model. So if the industry can, in a safe and regulated way, find a way to do that on a margin model, without being risky leveraged, but just being, sensible about it, I think that's going to open up, quite a lot there.
Oh, terrific. Thanks for making time for us, Alan.
Oh, it's always a pleasure.
Day.